the FCT, where questions of accountability, service delivery and governance are under fresh scrutiny. The Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, has recently made strong statements defending his administration's performance in the territory, while also addressing swirling criticism about how residents are being served. From repeated assurances that grassroots information flow will be improved to bold promises regarding infrastructure, the spotlight is on the FCT's progress or lack thereof. So, is the capital city keeping pace with its role as a national showcase?
Well, what we know is that Minister Wike has dismissed recent reports that his monthly media chat sessions were banned, saying that the dialogue with residents will continue, and he remains committed to keeping FCT residents informed. At the same time, he clarified his stance in the high-profile matter involving Nnamdi Kanu's trial, stating that he will only appear as a witness if formally served a writ or if subpoenaed, underlying his insistence on due process. Now, these interactions raise deeper questions about how the FCT's leadership is responding to public demands, access to information, visible delivery of services, transparency in decision-making, and genuine engagement with residents.
Also remember that in recent weeks, residents and civil society groups in the FCT have raised concerns ranging from delayed infrastructure projects, inadequate public transport links, unclear timelines for housing schemes, and perceived disconnects between the administration and the grassroots voices. But Wike argues that the FCT under his watch is transforming. Now, joining us to unpack this conversation is Martin Obono, who's Executive Director of the TAP Initiative. Martin, thank you for joining us. Now, the minister recently declared that reports of a ban on media charts in the FCT are simply not true. From where you stand, how would you assess the accessibility of information and responsiveness of the FCT administration to ordinary residents?
Thank you so much for having me. I think that it is very clear and glaring. It is not something that you can land and properties are things that you can easily make reference to and see. So if the FCT minister is therefore saying that the land that is being grabbed and people's gardens that are being demolished without prior notice in some cases, and some other cases when the court actually gives them the order to go and demolish and recover those lands, they don't even give the people ample time to prepare themselves for reallocation or prepare themselves to relocate, personally. It's been a very, very big disaster so far, seeing what the FCT minister is doing in Abuja, especially when it comes to gardens, parks, and land reallocation and revocation. So if you look at some parts of the city in FCT, so for example, I was driving beside City Park. City Park is one of the Abuja's first foremost gardens where everybody converged and circled for events, social events, gatherings, restaurants, and the rest of the sports activities. And you just see that some parts of that land has then been allocated for construction of an estate. An estate is actually ongoing in that particular part of the garden, and that is actually against the FCT master plan. When the federal government decided to relocate the capital territory to Abuja, the planners of that actually had a vision. The designers of the architects of the Abuja master plan had an idea. Considering that, which was consistent of saying allocating 40% of that particular landmass to green area, which was about 8,000 square meters or so, or thereabout. So for essential gardening, and as at the time when this master plan was done, the World Health Organization specified that there should be a certain kind of distance between residents and gardens, just to help for mental health stability and what have you, and recreational activities. But the federal government decided at the time to double that. to ensure that Nigeria did not just meet the standard of the World Health Organization, but they also decided that they wanted to surpass that, and that's why you have a lot of gardens within the FCT recreational centers and what have you. But for the first time in a very long time, what we have always seen is that citizens convert garden, green areas to permanent residence, and then the government reacts. But in this instance, the government is now the one reallocating, violating its own laws, basically, violating the Abuja master plan, and then taking properties or lands and garden areas from citizens themselves, and then converting it to personal use. And not just that, I mean, what I actually find very repulsive or appalling is the fact that the FCT minister took land belonging to the University of Abuja, a federal University of Abuja. Yeah. All of us know, we've been to schools and institutions, and we know that you don't develop an institution in one day. And his excuse at the time was that he wanted the University of Abuja was not using the 11,000 hectares that was given to them for development purposes. And he then took a huge chunk of that land, I think 6,000, and allocated it to private people to build on it. His claim was that they weren't ready to build on it. We know that university expands, population of an institution expands. Yeah. Not just that the population of an institution expands, but the institution itself builds infrastructure as the university grows. And then you take that land and allocate it for private use. That contravenes the Land Use Act. Not just that, because the Land Use Act wants to take a property that belongs to the public, it must be reallocated for another public use. But this one, he then allocated it to private individuals.
Well, Martins, this actually seems to be like a recurring pattern, and ministers of the FCT, because I know of a certain governor who did the same thing, took land from the university and allocated it, and was trying to take almost all the remaining land, but a court order actually stopped it. But then away from that, many citizens have said that they still do not see the capital city. That's the vision in their neighborhoods, especially those in the the peri-urban areas within town. And they complain about roads, drainage, power, housing, and even transportation. In your view, what are the biggest service delivery gaps in the FCT today?
So first of all, I would like to commend the FCT minister, to be honest, for the work he's been doing. Nobody can say that the FCT minister has not done well so far in terms of connecting the cities. And I choose my words carefully, connecting the cities. And connecting the cities means, in my opinion, that he's building bridges to connect cities from one zone to the other, one area to the other, which is not one of the things that we have seen since after El-Rufai left FCT as a minister. So he's doing well. I commend him in that aspect. However, what we see is that the minister himself is rather over-concentrating in the city centers, in some parts of the city centers. So what is he doing? He's just basically scraping some of the roads that do not have problems at all, and now retiring them and trying to rehabilitate them. When you have places like Dakibiu area of the town, some parts of Jahi, a lot of other parts of the city that has been left unattended. Largely, the refuse collection in Abuja is very, very, it's not even happening. You go to a lot of places, Abuja is heaped with so much refuse and dirt, and the FCT minister is not doing so much in that regard. Then even the roads that is claiming to be rehabilitating, those roads in the night are totally dark. There are no street lights to light them up for people to see. And then this also encourages a lot of criminality, because you then see that once you are in traffic lights and everywhere is dark, people break into your car and try to rob you. So this is also has a domino effect in terms of security. If you look critically in what the FCT minister has done so far, you have to tell yourself that he's done well, but he needs to do more. He needs to just not just connect the cities, but build more and newer routes, which is not something that we have actually seen in the past. So it then looks like, oh, the minister is doing too well. He's trying, but he's not. He hasn't gotten to where we really want him to go to. He should leave scraping roads and build more roads and construct more roads, basically.
Now, Martin, I mean, you just said it now yourself that you commend what the minister has done so far in terms of connecting roads in Abuja, and even the minister himself insists that the FCT is moving forward under his watch. What measurable progress do you believe the FCT has made since Wike became a minister, and does that progress justify his defense?
It depends on how you are, because the minister did not just come to Abuja to create roads, to build roads. The minister of FCT is meant to be the governor of FCT.
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to measure him, I know that you can give him like a good mark, maybe good, obviously, credit, for example, on roads construction. But the FCT minister will fail woefully for security. The FCT minister will fail woefully for healthcare. There was a time where primary healthcare were all in strike. I don't know if they've called up the strike up till now, and even primary school teachers also were went on strike. So you can see education, for example. You can see insecurity, security. You can also take healthcare, and then you take constructions of roads, and then you talk about the darkness that is enveloping the FCT. So in total, I don't think the FCT minister is doing well in my books, because governance is not just about creating and building bridges to connect intercities and the suburbs with the main to the center. So he needs to step up his game, basically. And also, government in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it is clearly stated that the actions of government must be humane at all times. The Constitution provided that the actions of government must be humane at all times. Now, Wike has been FCT minister, and what people are going through currently, it is inhumane. It is people going through severe pains, people going through hunger. Wike is literally suffocating land owners in Abuja, property development owners, and that's basically what we are seeing right now. And if you can see clearly, the economic policies of this administration has been really tough on people, and so it's been very difficult for people to have extra funding or extra resources to take care of other things. And so I would have expected that there will be some level of understanding, especially within landowners, especially within landlords and landladies, and park people who have been allocated parks for a period of time to use those parks for recreational activities, instead of going neck deep into frustrating them, grabbing their lands, revoking their lands, and bringing more excruciating pains on the lives of residents of FCT. So for me, apart from the roads that he is doing, I was called the FCT minister poor in healthcare, in primary healthcare, especially in education as well, and in the area of insecurity.
What about when it comes to communication, Martin? Because we know communication is one thing and action is another. How do you suggest that the FCT administration approach residents' engagement to move beyond media statements or media parleys into tangible service outcomes?
So the FCT minister behaves like he is cool, a very how do I call this now? He behaves like a dictator. Let me use the word for governance. So he behaves like a dictator, a village headmaster for the better use of words, for the lack of better use of words. Because what he does is just sit down and dictate to journalists who in most cases don't even ask him questions that are critical to the development of FCT, and they just sit down there and listen to him, and he rabbles and says a lot. I mean, I don't watch FCT minister talk in one of those of his media chats or Pali, because it's just an absolute waste of time. Half of the time he's talking politics, he's not really talking about development. More than half the time he's talking about PDP problems, Labour Party problems. What's his business? He's now the minister of FCT. He's the minister of PDP, APC, Labour Party, ADC, and Babalawo people, Christians, Muslims, and what have you. The minister has no business discussing politics using taxpayers' money to keep people engrossed. And if you even say that he is communicating to who? He's just saying things that he wants to say. River State, he wants to talk about politics, and he is not engaging people. If you want to engage people, gather the people who own Garden Association of FCT, I don't know, whoever they are under the umbrella, and address them. This is stakeholder engagement. Have town hall meetings, hear from the people themselves. You're not talking down on people. I hear him, the way he talks down on journalists during his media pally, and it is totally appalling, for journalists to sit down 1 hour, 2 hours, listen to Wike talk down on them, impose his ideas on them. It is totally unacceptable. And I think that if he needs to communicate, there are better ways to do that communication, other than sitting down on a golden chair and try to force and shout down people. Sometimes, even when you just see some snipers, you see how journalists are trying to ask questions and he's shutting them down, using derogatory words. No, that is totally unacceptable. That to me is not communication. That to me is not community engagement. That to me is not engaging the citizens and residents of FCT. It is not.
Martin, honestly, I think what got me what you just said now is the golden chair, because I'm not even sure the president sits on the golden chair during his presidential, perhaps his media parley. But what I want to ask you, is it really about him having a media parley, or it's about what he says during his media parley? Because personally, I feel like it's something strange. I don't think any other minister does a media parley, a media chat, or has a media chat.
So it will have been highly commendable that the Minister of FCT is having a media chat, if that media chat was beneficial to the people. Half the time, or more than half the time, he engages in politics, things that don't concern FCT residents. You're talking about politics in River State. You will sit down, Wike will sit down and have a media chat to talk about Rotimi Amechi. Rotimi Amechi is not... Rotimi Amechi was the former governor of River State. You dedicate time to talk about Similaye Fubara, the current governor of River State. You dedicate time to talk about the president's politics and how he is, what the president is doing in terms of politics. You dedicate time. So if he were to be communicating or having a proper conversation online, talking to people and engaging them to say, okay, I'm doing this media chat because I want to improve governance. I'm doing this media chat because it is a feedback for me to know exactly what I'm doing and what I'm doing wrong or what I'm doing right. What areas do you think I need to improve? It would have been a lot more better than to engage in politics or national TV when we are not even in the area of politics, in the time of politics, as it were, when we are not in elections. And then you just sit down and talk down on people, drop names, call names, address people in such a derogatory manner without respect, without considering that you're on national TV. That is where the problem is. It is not about the media pally. It is actually about the content of that media pally for me.
All right, now, well, thank you so much, Martin Obono, for joining us and sharing your views and insights, into what is happening in the FCT. Thank you so much.